I guess I
Thank
want
you.
to hop into it. One of the things that we know about the Detroit Lions offense is we know who the pieces are. It's Gibbs, it's St. Brown, it's Laporta. This year we get a full season of Jamison Williams. What do you think his role is going to be on this offense this year? I think we saw some flashes of it last year. What is he going to be in this offense, Jamison Williams?
Well, I think he's going to be their second receiver. It's funny because JMO's been through it all. Like the first season, they traded up for him, and he had the injury, and he couldn't play right away, and it took him till game 11, 12 to play. Then last year, he got the suspension for the gambling, and everybody's like, oh, is this guy really going to work out? And then Dan Campbell, when he came back, said, like, listen, he's got a lot of catching up to do. And he wasn't sugarcoating anything. However, the last 4 to 5 to 6 games, JMO was great. He was great in the playoffs as well. And I think he's going to be their second receiver. Like, it's wild because the Lions are so deep this year that the only real worry from Lions fans is who their third receiver is. Amon-Ra St. Brown, as you mentioned, will be one, and obviously JMO's going to be two. But I would expect JMO to have a pretty big breakout year, and he's got speed that nobody can cover. And, again, 2 years now in the system, I would think JMO is going to be pretty good.
Do you expect this offense as a whole to be as good as it was last year? I mean, you mentioned all the pieces that they have other than maybe that third wide receiver, but can they continue to put up similar numbers? And in terms of points scored each game, they were atop of the league or near the top. Is that repeatable this season?
Yeah, so I think it is. I do. So I think it starts with the offensive line. And that offensive line, I'm not quite sure there's a better one in all of football. And they went out and they got Zeitler. And you look at Penei Sewell, who they paid. He's an all-pro. Taylor Decker on the left side. I mean, they have a very good offensive line. And then you're looking at two really good running backs in Gibbs and Montgomery. And Gibbs should be even better than he was last year, his rookie season. And then, like, nobody's even mentioning Sam Laporta, who they drafted a rookie last year, and he set all kinds of tight end records. So as crazy as it sounds, with Ben Johnson being back for now years 3 of that offense, I do believe they're going to be just as good, if not better. And the crazy thing is, I mean, they put up 30 points last year a game, with the exception of a couple games, without blinking. I expect that to happen again. I mean, I would be surprised if they're not 1 or 2 or 3, I guess, ranked offensively. I think it goes to Niners, maybe, and then the Lions.
No, definitely Detroit Lions getting it done offensively. And so it's a lot of good things to like. When you look at the other side of the ball, though, it's starting to come together as well. Looking right now at Defensive Player of the Year odds, Aiden Hutchinson's coming in at 10-1, 6 shortest odds behind TJ Watt, Micah Parson, Bosa, Crosby, and Miles Garrett. Would you consider Hutchinson to be up there with those elite level NFL defenders?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, he obviously took a real big jump last year, 13 and a half sacks in year 2. I would think it's only getting better. He's put on a ton of weight. He's been in the system for a couple years now. Here's the only thing to worry about that bet, okay? He still doesn't really have anybody opposite from him. So they went out and they got Marcus Davenport, and Marcus Davenport was a first-round pick. The problem is he's injury-prone, and he's going to start the training camp on the PUP list. So I do think Aiden could be better if they actually went out and got somebody better opposite of him, but I don't think that's going to deter him. I think that's a safe bet, and I think that D-line as a whole should be a heck of a lot better. They went out and got DJ Reader as well. Now, the only downside to this defense is potential injuries. They're better. There's no question that they're better. I think it's hard to be worse than they were last year. I think they were ranked 20th. They should be at least middle of the pack this year. But they went out, they got Davenport on D-line, injury prone. They got DJ Reader, injury prone. He'll start the season on the PUP list as well. And then you look at Carlton Davis, they went out and they traded for a corner, which they desperately needed. But again, the guy is injury prone as well. So I do think the D will be better, but it's something to keep an eye on. They are counting on a bunch of dudes that unfortunately do have injury histories, but they're good players.
Corey, we just had Jeff Rieger on of 97 won the ticket, and he gave us an under. We have not had too many unders throughout this series of, people coming on and talking about the teams that they cover. almost everyone has gone over. I don't know what our exact record is, but I want to say we only have 3 or 4 unders on the season, and we've been through most of the teams. So I think it's realistic for the Lions to go under and finish with 10 wins. Jeff laid out a number of really solid points, just that people aren't taking the Lions lightly at all this season. They know how
No.
good Detroit can be, how good that roster is, how much talent there is, and they're not going to be taking them lightly. The only reason I would argue that maybe they could go over is because their schedule, in terms of where they're playing these games, really favors Jared Goff and his style of play, because the 7 of their first 13 games, no, first 7 games and 13 of their first 14 games are all indoors. And Jared Goff thrives indoors. It's those cold weather games late in the year that you kind of have to worry about Goff struggling. But being he's playing nearly every game either in warm weather or inside a dome, I think that heavily favors the Lions early on in this season.
A couple of things I like about the Lions, Kate, coming into the year. And I believe I would say that the first one is the fact that I like teams where everything is the same, right? Same head coach, same coordinators, Jared Goff, St. Brown, JMO, Gibbs in the backfield. You know what's in defense. Everything remains the same coming off a year where the team should have went to the Super Bowl. Now, with that being said, you do have to deal with a first place schedule now. And you're playing just about every NFC playoff team from last year. Open up Lions, Buccaneers, playoff teams. Cardinal team will be much improved this year. You mentioned they do get that fast track, though. You get the Seahawks, you get that bye. You come out that bye, Cowboys, Vikings. You get a little bit of a reprieve with the Titans coming to your building. Then you listen to this stretch. Packers on the road, Texans on the road, home for the Jaguars, at Indy, and then you come Bears, Packers, Bills, Bears. So after the bye week, the heat really turns up. Health is going to be critical, and health is going to be critical for this Detroit Lion team this year. So the Lion fan who is fat and happy and sassy now may look at this as, okay, we regressed, but I can see a 10-7 Lion team being better than last year's team that went to the conference championship game.
You look at, the week 9 and week 10 that you laid out. Week 9 at the Packers, that's tough. Week 10 at the Texans. And that's a Sunday night football game, so prime time. And the Texans are coming off of a Thursday night game against the Jets in New York.
Yeah.
So they'll have a couple days of a rest advantage over you. Plus, you're going into Houston, into their house. That's going to be a tough one for the Lions. I could see that being a loss. The 13, 14, 15 weeks, you have Bears Thursday night football on a short week coming off of a game at Indianapolis. The Colts aren't going to be a rollover team at all this year. The Colts are going to be good. So that Bears game, plus this Bears team is expected to be better this season. The Bears aren't going to be one of those teams in the division that you just kind of expect, check off a win before the game even starts. Packers, another Thursday night football. And then the Bills. That one, I think, possibly could be a win for Detroit. I mean, they're playing the Bills at home. That's an edge for Detroit right there. But the Bills are also coming off of a game in LA playing the Rams. So a lot of cross country travel there. That's a really tough spot. So I could see that being a win. But then you're back on the road at Bears, at 49ers. That 49ers game, one that they certainly have circled, but so do the 49ers. So that's going to be a tough one. Yeah, I go back and forth. You can make a case for the over, but I mean, if you do make a case for the over, they're probably winning 11 games. I don't see them going 13, 14 win season by any means. So the market has this one, I think, fairly priced around 10.5.